It starts the same every time. You're trying to connect, laughing, listening, sharing stories, but something feels off. Their smile fades a little too early. Their eyes search for an exit, and before you realize it, they've drifted, physically still there, mentally already gone. You walk away replaying every moment, convinced the conversation went fine. But for them, it was a quiet relief when it ended. This is the most invisible kind of rejection, not through words, but through silence. No one tells you what's wrong. They just stop showing up, stop inviting you, stop trusting you with the real parts of their life. And so you begin to doubt yourself, not in the loud way of heartbreak, but in the slow erosion of confidence that comes from never knowing why things fade. Here's the truth. You're not being ignored because you lack charm or intelligence. It's because of small, unspoken habits, invisible patterns in how you speak, listen, and respond. You can't see them, but everyone around you feels them. They're not dramatic. They're quiet. But over time, they drain the energy out of every connection you try to build. This is where Stoic wisdom cuts through the noise, because it teaches us that awareness is the root of mastery. You can't control others, but you can master the way you show up in every interaction. And when you do, everything changes. Conversations become lighter, more honest, more alive. Today, on Stoic Sage Academy, we'll uncover the 8 subtle conversation habits that silently push people away. Not through conflict, but through unnoticed friction. They're not about manipulation. They're about seeing clearly what most people never even realize they're doing. If you've ever wondered why your connections stay shallow, why people drift without explanation, or why being kind still isn't enough, stay with me. Because this might be the most important conversation you've never had. Let's begin. Habit number 1. Listening to reply, not to understand. Someone begins to share something personal. A long week, a quiet struggle, a small triumph. You nod, maintain polite eye contact, make the expected sounds of attention. On the surface, you seem engaged, but inside there's noise. You're not truly hearing them. You're preparing. You're crafting the perfect response, searching for a story that mirrors theirs, waiting for the moment their sentence ends so yours can begin. The words reach your ears but never reach you. They stop at the surface, filtered through the constant urge to be heard. This is the first invisible fracture in human connection, when the mind listens only for its turn. It's subtle, but people feel it. They can't describe exactly what's wrong, but something in your presence feels hollow. The rhythm of the conversation shifts from exchange to competition, from empathy to performance. They're sharing something real. You're treating it as a cue. And in that moment, the conversation stops being a bridge and becomes a mirror, one that reflects only yourself. Over time, this habit builds quiet distance. Others stop sharing what matters. They edit their truth down to small talk because they've learned that depth doesn't survive with you. To them, your attention feels conditional, offered only until you can speak. The Stoics understood that presence is not merely physical attention, it is moral attention. To listen fully is to suspend the self, to set aside the need to respond, to resist the pull of ego that whispers, "Make this about you." True listening is not about waiting, it's about witnessing. It demands silence not just of the mouth, but of the mind. Most people mistake the act of waiting quietly for the act of listening. But there is a vast difference. Waiting is passive. Listening is active. Waiting seeks opportunity. Listening seeks understanding. When you wait to talk, the conversation becomes a performance. When you truly listen, it becomes communion, a meeting of minds unguarded by pretense. To practice the Stoic art of listening, approach each conversation as if you have nothing to prove and everything to learn. When someone speaks, let their words arrive without immediately building your reply. Let silence breathe. Pause before responding, not as a tactic, but as a gesture of respect. It signals that their words were not merely heard, but received. Ask questions that draw their thought deeper, not wider. Instead of, "That happened to me too," try, "How did that make you feel?" Or, "What happened after?" In doing so, you move from being a participant in dialogue to a cultivator of understanding. The Stoics believed that to master the self, one must first master attention, because attention is the currency of respect. When you give it freely, people feel seen. When you hold it back, even unconsciously, they feel invisible. And invisibility, even in conversation, is one of the quietest forms of loneliness. The next habit reaches even deeper. It's what makes people feel unseen even when you're right in front of them. Habit number 2, the urge to one-up. A person shares a story, a challenge overcome, a small triumph, a frustrating experience. They speak with hope, relief, or pride. Before the echo of their words fully settles, the mind is already plotting a response. Not a response that honors their experience, but one that overshadows it. You jump in with something bigger, more dramatic, more consequential. They mention a difficult client. You recount an impossible one. They describe a long flight delay. Yours was longer. They share joy in a personal milestone. Yours eclipses it. You think you are bonding, creating connection through similarity. In truth, you are erasing the moment that belonged to them. This is one of the quietest erosions of trust. Every conversation becomes a silent contest, a display of superiority they never asked to enter. Validation is replaced with competition. You are telling them, without words, your experience is not enough. Let me show you what real struggle, real achievement, real significance looks like. The effect is subtle, but profound. They wanted to be heard. You made it about being outdone. Their excitement deflates. Their vulnerability is muted. Over time, this habit cultivates a form of resignation, the quiet choice to stop sharing anything real at all. The spark of openness dies under the weight of comparison. The Stoics warned against this instinct. Ego constantly seeks validation through superiority, yet true strength lies in restraint. Marcus Aurelius reflected often on the mind's capacity for silent refuge, but he also understood the pull of comparison. The desire to one-up comes not from malice, but from insecurity, a restless need to prove oneself. True confidence does not require eclipsing others. True strength allows their triumphs to shine without interference, their struggles to exist without judgment or measurement. When you resist the urge to dominate the narrative, you are showing a respect for their experience that no words can fully capture. Practically, this means listening without preemptive response. Let the story breathe. Ask thoughtful questions. Explore the emotions behind their words before introducing your own. When it is your turn to speak, do so not to outshine, but to build on the connection. Let the moment belong to them. When you allow another's experience to exist fully, you signal trust, empathy, and maturity. When you feel compelled to one-up, you reveal insecurity and impatience. Awareness of this habit is the first step toward dismantling it, a conscious act of restraint that strengthens relationships and restores quiet dignity to conversation. And the next habit goes even further. It drains energy from interactions in ways most people never notice, leaving conversations heavy and unrewarding without either party realizing why. Habit number 3, the urge to give unsolicited advice. Someone shares a struggle. Their voice carries weight. Their words ripple with difficulty or doubt. Before their thought has fully formed, before the depth of what they're feeling has surfaced, your mind leaps ahead, already crafting solutions, mapping steps, prescribing actions. You believe you are being helpful. They experience something entirely different. They feel dismissed. Their reality is compressed into a problem to be solved, rather than an experience to be witnessed. Most human beings do not reveal challenges because they seek immediate solutions. They reveal because they seek acknowledgement, understanding, and presence. When you pivot too quickly to advice, you skip the very part they came for: to be heard, to be seen, to have their struggle honored. This habit fractures connection in subtle but lasting ways. It communicates without words. Your feelings are secondary. My fix is primary. Vulnerability, when met with preemptive solutions, becomes a burden rather than a bridge. Over time, others learn that their true self, their authentic concerns, will not find a safe place in your presence. They start to hold back. They share only what can withstand the force of your intervention, stripping depth from every interaction. The impulse to advise arises not from malice, but from discomfort. Pain makes us uneasy. We want to resolve it, to move past the heaviness, to restore order, but that unease is ours, not theirs. The wisdom of the Stoics teaches that strength lies in restraint. True mastery of interaction is knowing when to act and when to simply exist with another person's experience. Not every problem needs a solution. Sometimes the most profound act is simply to be present, to sit with their difficulty, to bear witness to their struggle without interruption. Presence itself is a gift. It communicates respect, care, and recognition far more powerfully than any advice ever could. To practice this, pause before responding. Ask, do you want guidance or do you just need to be heard? Honor the answer. Lean into the silence if that is what the moment demands. Allow the conversation to unfold fully, without haste, without redirecting it to efficiency or action. Resisting the urge to fix is not passivity. It is an exercise in discipline, empathy, and stoic attention. It demonstrates that the other person's reality matters more than the relief of your own discomfort. By withholding advice until it is requested, you create a space where connection can flourish, unforced, authentic, and deeply human. And the next habit will reveal a way conversations quietly erode trust and significance, leaving people feeling unnoticed even when they are speaking. Habit number 4. You turn every topic back to yourself. A person begins to speak about a career decision, a book they've read, a new idea. Within moments, the thread is redirected. Your experiences, opinions, and stories dominate the conversation. Their words become the prompt for your performance. Their narrative is transformed into a stage for your reflection. You may believe you are connecting, finding common ground, relating to them. In reality, the other person feels sidelined. They are not a participant in a mutual exchange. They are an audience to your life. The subtle message is clear. What you have to say is more important than what they have to share. This habit erodes connection quietly but thoroughly. Every conversation becomes a pattern of hijacking. People stop introducing ideas, stop exploring thoughts, stop offering anything meaningful. Why risk sharing depth when it is inevitably overshadowed by someone else's focus on themselves? Conversations shrink into safe, surface-level exchanges because the risk of losing the floor has become certain. The consequences are profound. Moments that could have been spaces of genuine engagement and insight become performances, rehearsed, one-sided, unfulfilling. The other person leaves with the sense that their presence mattered little, that their experience was merely a stepping stone to your own narrative. Stoic wisdom illuminates this tendency. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of genuine interest in the thoughts and experiences of others. He wrote about listening not to respond, but to understand. He recognized the constant pull of ego, the desire to center everything around one's own perspective. Wisdom, he observed, requires restraint, the ability to hold back, to resist the urge to redirect, to give presence fully to another. True connection emerges when you allow someone's thread to unfold naturally. When a topic is introduced, stay with it, explore it, ask questions, dive into their perspective before sharing your own. If you offer a related experience, keep it brief, subordinate to their narrative, and then return attention to them. The spotlight remains where they placed it. Not because you are timid, but because you value their presence, their ideas, their expression. Redirecting every topic to yourself signals disinterest in the inner world of others. It communicates subtly that their thoughts, Their feelings, their experiences are secondary. People sense this even if they cannot name it. Over time, they withdraw. Engagement fades. Conversation becomes something to endure rather than a shared exploration of understanding. Mastering this habit is not a matter of suppressing expression, but of balancing it with attentiveness, empathy, and discipline. Let conversation be a shared stage, not a solo performance disguised as dialogue. Respect the threads others introduce. Give depth to their ideas before weaving your own into the tapestry. And the next habit is even more corrosive. It makes people want to stop speaking mid-sentence, leaving the conversation feeling heavy, awkward, and draining. Habit number 5, interrupting and finishing others' thoughts. A person begins to speak, mid-thought, searching for the right word, forming the shape of an idea. Before their thought fully lands, you jump in. You finish their sentence or interject with your perspective before theirs is complete. You may think you are being helpful, demonstrating understanding, keeping the conversation flowing. They experience something very different. They feel cut off, disrespected, and diminished, as if their ideas are not worthy of the time it takes to emerge fully. Every interruption carries an unspoken message. What you are saying isn't important enough for me to wait. I already know where you are going. My contribution matters more than your completion. This habit quietly corrodes connection because it strips others of conversational agency. Repeated interruptions signal that your pace, your voice, and your ideas hold priority over theirs. Some people need time to articulate complex thoughts, pause to weigh their words, or navigate the nuances of their own reflection. Your intrusion does not assist, but it derails. And over time, those who are consistently interrupted learn to stop trying. Contributions shrink. Depth disappears. Conversation becomes a stream of bite-sized fragments that are safe to speak because they won't be cut off mid-flow. The Stoics recognized the profound significance of patience in dialogue. Seneca emphasized that impatience is a reflection of inner turbulence, a restless need to assert oneself at the expense of another's dignity. To interrupt is not merely a breach of etiquette. It is a subtle violence against someone's attempt to be understood. It diminishes the value of thought itself and communicates that the act of expression is secondary to the urge to respond. True wisdom in conversation arises from restraint. It is the deliberate choice to let silence exist. It is the recognition that listening fully, letting words land completely, is not weakness or passivity, but a profound act of respect. To wait, to pause, to withhold your voice until the other has finished, is to validate their presence, their mind, and their experience. Practically, this requires conscious discipline. After someone speaks, pause for 2 full seconds before responding. Let the silence settle. Let the weight of their words be fully acknowledged. If you feel the impulse to interrupt, stop yourself. Close your mouth. Let patience guide your response rather than impulse. Interrupting may seem small, harmless, or even well-intentioned, but over time, it accumulates into a subtle pattern of exclusion. People stop speaking freely. They simplify, shorten, and eventually withdraw. Conversation loses depth, nuance, and vitality. It becomes hollow, perfunctory, a transaction rather than a true exchange. And the next habit will reveal how conversations can feel empty and superficial, leaving others disconnected even when you are physically present. Habit number 6. Asking only surface-level questions. You ask someone about their weekend. Fine. You ask about work. Busy. You ask about their vacation. Yes, it was good. Each question can be answered with a single word. Each answer is as shallow as the question that invited it. You may think you are showing interest. They experience it differently, as a series of perfunctory motions, a ritual performed without genuine curiosity or attention. The questions are asked, the boxes are checked, but the person remains unseen, their inner world untouched. Surface questions generate surface answers, and surface answers never build connection. This habit keeps people at arm's length, signaling subtly that you are not interested in who they truly are. You are only interested in performing the social script. Over time, people sense it. They stop offering depth because you have never invited it. Conversations plateau at polite pleasantries. You know facts about lives, but nothing about hearts, minds, or struggles. This is not mere oversight, and it is a quiet barrier to intimacy. Genuine human connection thrives on curiosity about experience, on the willingness to venture beyond what is convenient and safe. Surface-level inquiry is safe but sterile. It leaves no room for the complexity, vulnerability, or richness of another person's inner life. The Stoics taught the importance of awareness and engagement with what is real, including the minds and hearts of others. Marcus Aurelius reflected daily on the need to ask not only what people do, but what moves them, what troubles them, what shapes their thoughts. Connection, he understood, emerges when attention penetrates beyond the obvious into the realm of lived experience. To ask meaningful questions requires courage. It is the risk of stepping beyond comfort, beyond routines and facts, and into the realm of feelings, reflections, and personal truths. Instead of asking what happened, ask what that experience was like. Instead of asking how are things, ask what has been on your mind lately, or what challenges or surprises have shaped your day. These are doorways to real human experience, invitations to be seen, recognized, and understood. Every time you ask a deeper question, you signal that you value their inner world. You communicate presence, respect, and the willingness to witness another's reality without judgment or haste. Depth begins with inquiry. When you create space for it, people will offer themselves more fully, and conversation becomes a bridge rather than a transaction. Replace status questions with experience questions. Replace facts with curiosity. Each question should extend an invitation. I want to understand you. I want to see the world as you experience it. The more consistently you practice this, the more authentic your relationships will become. And the next habit reaches even further. It doesn't just keep people from sharing. It drains their energy simply by being in conversation with you. Habit number 7, turning every conversation into a debate. Someone shares a new idea, a different approach, a fresh perspective, a personal preference. Instantly, your mind searches for flaws, inconsistencies, or contradictions. You point them out. They mention a book, a movie, a project, or a plan. You explain why it is flawed, misguided, or overrated. You believe you are engaging critically, participating in intelligent discourse. They experience something entirely different, relentless opposition, a sense that nothing they say is safe, that every thought must be defended against scrutiny. This habit quietly corrodes relationships because it turns conversation into combat. Every interaction becomes mentally exhausting. People stop offering meaningful ideas, not because they cannot defend themselves, but because they tire of constant correction, contradiction, and challenge. They came for connection. You turned it into confrontation. Over time, those around you learn to shield themselves. They share only bland, uncontroversial topics. Depth disappears. Curiosity is muted. Conversation becomes a performance of caution rather than exploration. The richness of dialogue, the exchange of perspectives, the mutual discovery, vanishes. The Stoics understood the danger of this instinct. Epictetus taught that not every difference of opinion needs correction, and not every false statement demands response. The measure of wisdom is discernment, knowing when to intervene and when to remain silent. True connection, he understood, often matters far more than being right. Challenging everything that is said signals that your need to be correct outweighs the other person's need to feel safe, heard, and respected. It communicates subtly. Your perspective is valuable only as a target for scrutiny, not as an expression of your inner life. Over time, people stop sharing anything substantial, guarding their thoughts against relentless debate. Stoic practice emphasizes restraint. Before countering, ask yourself, will this correction strengthen the relationship or will it merely serve my ego? If it does not serve connection, let it go. Intellectual energy is not meant for every casual conversation. It is meant for spaces where dialogue is expected, desired, and mutually constructive. By allowing others' ideas to exist without constant challenge, you create safety, trust, and openness. You signal that conversation is a shared space, not a battlefield. Depth and vulnerability flourish when dialogue is free from judgment, competition, and relentless critique. Conversations are not contests of intellect. They are opportunities to witness another mind, to explore perspectives, and to honor the human experience behind every thought. Prioritize presence, empathy, and connection over the compulsion to be right. And the final habit, the eighth, destroys trust faster than any other. It erodes confidence, security, and closeness in a way that even the most subtle of words cannot repair. Habit number 8. Sharing what was meant to be private. Someone confides in you, a difficulty at work, a delicate relationship issue, a personal struggle, or a private family matter. They trusted you with it. It was meant to exist only between you and them, yet somehow it finds its way into the hands of others. Perhaps you frame it as concern, seeking advice. Perhaps it slips into conversation unnoticed, casually shared. Perhaps names are omitted, but the details make it unmistakably theirs. Regardless of intention, the effect is the same. You have broken something sacred. Trust once given is a fragile gift. Sharing it transforms it into currency, public information, and that gift can never be fully restored. This habit does not merely weaken connection, it annihilates it. Betrayal of confidence leaves people feeling exposed, vulnerable, unsafe. They begin to question everything they have ever shared with you. Every secret, every personal reflection, every moment of openness becomes suspect. Did you reveal that too? Who else knows? The foundation of intimacy, trust, is shattered. Once a person labels you as incapable of discretion, the flow of genuine communication stops. They stop confiding, not just about monumental struggles, but about anything real. Conversations shrink to superficialities. Relationships flatten into polite facades. Depth, authenticity, and vulnerability are lost. The Stoics recognized the profound moral weight of trust. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively on integrity and the sacredness of confidence. When someone entrusts you with their inner world, they are offering a part of themselves that cannot be retrieved. To honor that gift is not merely an act of decency. It is a reflection of your character. To betray it is to reveal the priorities of your own mind, valuing the fleeting currency of information over the enduring value of human trust. Marcus warned that betraying confidence does not only harm the other person, it exposes your own character. It signals that you value the act of sharing more than the person who confided in you. Once broken, that trust leaves a permanent scar. People do not forget. They do not take it back. The relationship does not resume as if nothing happened. The distance is cold, quiet, and unyielding. True wisdom demands restraint. Treat what is shared in confidence as sacred. If uncertainty arises, if you question whether a detail can be mentioned, default to silence. Ask before sharing. Protect the trust placed in you more fiercely than you protect your own reputation, more fiercely than you seek to impress or inform. Words that betray confidence are irreversible. The cost is always far greater than any perceived benefit of sharing. In every conversation, honor the fragility of trust. Recognize that human vulnerability is a treasure, not a story to be distributed. The measure of your character is revealed not in what you say publicly, but in what you guard privately. These 8 habits are not evidence that you're a bad person. They are evidence that you are human, that you navigate relationships with blind spots, unaware of the subtle ways your words and actions can push people away. Most of us unknowingly fall into at least 3 of these patterns, yet that doesn't define us. What defines us is the willingness to notice, reflect, and change. The difference between those who form deep, lasting connections and those who remain on the periphery of others' lives isn't intention. It's awareness. Awareness allows you to see the invisible barriers you create, to understand the impact of your habits, and to take deliberate steps toward authenticity. The Stoics understood this profoundly. They knew that relationships, like any art, require constant practice and careful attention. Marcus Aurelius observed his own tendencies daily, examining his words and actions, adjusting where necessary, and striving to connect genuinely without letting ego dictate his interactions. He understood that self-examination isn't about perfection. It's about clearing the obstacles that prevent true human connection. You don't need to fix all 8 habits at once. Start with one, the one that resonates most with you. For the next 2 weeks, notice every time it arises. Catch yourself. Make a conscious choice to respond differently. Observe the subtle shift that occurs in your conversations when you remove even a single barrier. One habit changed can transform the way people experience your presence. If these 8 habits gave you clarity about why some relationships haven't deepened, subscribe to Stoic Sage Academy for more insights into authentic communication, meaningful connection, and the Stoic practices that make them possible. If this reflection helped you recognize your own patterns without judgment, like this video so others can gain the same awareness and begin transforming their own conversations. Connection isn't complicated. It doesn't require perfection. It requires attention, presence, and the removal of the small, unconscious habits that quietly alienate others. Now you know what those barriers are. Now you can begin dismantling them. Thank you for being here, for choosing to observe, reflect, and grow. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay stoic, stay mindful, and stay connected.